What's cracking, everybody? Zerfael Rose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Now, I totally read all your minds. You want to know all about the Psychic Cup. I know, because I'm psychic. I told you. I know.
That's a bad joke, and you should feel bad.
I do feel bad, but it was the only joke I could think of in the 2 seconds before I hit record, okay? Alright, so y'all, we're going to talk about the Psychic Cup today. We're going to do a full breakdown of all the Pokemon that are in it, the whole, 12 that you're going to see. It's just like Fighting Cup from last season, but there's no ridiculously overpowered fast move thing, except for maybe Bronzong, which isn't super great anyway, but it is in this cup. But anyway, so we're not going to have a Como Hakamo problem, I don't think, from Fighting Cup, so this could probably be a little bit better of a meta, but I already see number 4 is going to be a problem. So let's talk about everything, right? And so we're going to start with this first group here. We've got the big meta bulky boys here. We've got, really honestly, I call them like pseudo fighters in a way. So Medicham is a fighter, obviously, but then we've got Deoxys, Wobbuffet, and even Girafarig falls under this fighting sort of subset here, where you've got a counter user or a fighting type user that really, you know, at best is going to do neutral and probably resisted to fast moves. Like, these Pokemon are probably bad in this cup, just overall. Like, you're going to do much better by looking elsewhere. Wobbuffet is very thick, but you're only winning off the basis of hitting things with return and just being bulky. Okay, sure, in the one shields you beat Victini. That's because it has to basically debuff itself to do any damage. But I mean, it's Wobbuffet. Like, if you've got enough XLs for an XL Wobbuffet, you got the dust for it. Be my guest, but I'm staying away from it in this cup. Wobbuffet is just not something I'm going to enjoy playing. Medicham, again, you know, all of the things in this cup are basically Medicham. Like, they eat Medicham for breakfast. Like, you just don't run Medicham. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be good enough. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Deoxys in the same vein. It's not going to be bad, but like the counter damage is resisted in so many places, and Psycho Boost is going to be resisted by literally everything, if not double resisted. So, and you're running what, Rock Slide, Thunderbolt? Like, those are not going to be great moves to be thrown around here. So I'm off of all 4 of these Pokemon, essentially. I put them all here because I'm off of all of them, because they're doing resisted or neutral in the fast move. Their charge moves are resisted or neutral at best. They're not doing super effective damage to much of anything. They're not taking advantage of the fact that the cup is entirely psychic type. So I don't like them, but if you find a way to use them, go for it. Not my cup of tea. But group number 2 is going to be kind of like the bulky psychic types and just a mishmash of things here. So Hypno and Cresselia are very good safe swap sort of options because they have good coverage moves on this meta. So Cresselia is going to have the Moonblast for hitting the Malamar, and Hypno is going to have the Shadow Ball to hit all the other psychic types for at least neutral damage. And it has the Elemental Punches. You can pick and choose your favorite move, or you can just run Focus Blast because you don't care. Oranguru is here because it is pretty bulky. It is a normal psychic type, and it has Foul Play, which is really good in a meta filled with psychic types because you're going to be doing dark damage that is usually super effective unless it's going to be something like Malamar. And that's really about the whole list. Like, Malamar is about the only thing in this meta that doesn't, you know, take super effective damage from dark, and that's why it's really good. We're going to get to that in a minute. But Bronzong, I got to talk about Bronzong. That might be the closest thing we get to the Hakamo Como problem we had in the Fighting Cup, right? Because it knows Feint Attack, which means it's got a dark type fast move, and it gets Payback, which is a dark type charge move, and it gets Heavy Slam, which is a neutral but stab, you know, charge move that does some decent damage. That's not the problem, though. What we have is Bronzong doing super effective fast move damage to just about everything in the cup. So unless you're going to run Claydol, which, I mean, you could. I don't think I would, but you could, and it's on here. It's not, I mean, if you got one, great. I don't know if I want to build one for this cup, though, but maybe. We'll see. But you've got it here, and it's doing super effective damage to literally everything else in this cup that's not Malamar. So that's kind of insane, and could be really good. So it's just a matter of, like, taking advantage of the swing of the meta, right? If there's a bunch of Bronzong, run your Claydol. If there's a bunch of Claydol, run your... Man, I don't even freaking know. But run your Malamar, right? I guess. I don't know. Mudslap is not terrible, because you can see some things in here that could take advantage of it. But Gardevoir and Gallade here are both charm users, especially Gardevoir. You can already see Shadow Gardevoir's number 4. I'm kind of worried about that being super really good in this cup, because in the 2 shields, Shadow Gardevoir beats everything but like 2 things. It's ridiculous, and only one of those is, you know, Bronzong, and then I think the other one is like maybe the poisons. I don't know. It's ridiculous though how much damage that thing can put out. So just keep your eyes on it, right? Because Gardevoir Shadow, you know, it annihilates Malamar. It takes out a lot of the other top meta picks, and Victini, Jirachi, like the things that resist Charm, and maybe Cresselia. Those are the only things that you're going to be able to do any real like response with against the Gardevoir. And even then, the Bronzong's not even a very good win, because you can see the Bronzong here actually almost loses to it because those charms are just so oppressive. It comes out with 10 HP. It's not a safe matchup for Bronzong. You know, easily the Gardevoir could put up another shield and charm you the rest of the way down, and then hit something else with a ton of charm damage. This is probably, so this and Bronzong are probably the closest things to Pokémon Company. So I would expect Shadow Gardevoir to be out in droves. So maybe you build a team with 3 things that beat charm, and then you just hope for the best, right? Like you run Victini, Galarian Slowking, and then you could run Bronzong. You could do like a Victini double steal. You could do like a Victini with Cresselia and Bronzong. You could run Slowking. Slowking has Hex, Shadow Ball. It's doing super effective or neutral to just about everything in this cup just by that alone, except for Oranguru and Girafarig. So there's play here for some spice. This third page here is going to be some of the silliest things I've ever seen. Malamar dominates this cup, aside from getting blown away by charm users and Bronzong can't win against it. Victini can only win against Malamar if you didn't pay attention to the Swag Tips IV Deep Dive and get a Research IV Malamar that beats Victini to CMP, but sometimes you got like a 15 attack Victini. I think you're good. So typically speaking, it loses to Victini because they both get to the V-Create and the Foul Play at 5. However, if you have a Raid IV, let's look at one of the Raid IVs that Swag Tips put up. So 12, 15, or no, it's 13, 15, 15, my bad. 13, 15, 15 is going to be able to beat the Victini to CMP. If the Victini has, you know, 10, you know, maybe it's got the, you know, the really decent, okay, maybe not quite that decent. I'm not very good at Victini IV spreads here, but like if you got the 10, 14, 14, like that will beat Malamar. But if you're one of those people that has, and I'm one of them, has a more attack weighted Victini, that may not necessarily be enough to be able to beat it. So just keep that in mind, right? 120, so it'll beat my Victini, but I know somebody with a 15, 10, 10, and there's no, oh, that'll even beat their Victini. Wow, okay. So just tell me to be quiet, I guess, right? So Malamar with these Research IVs could beat Victini to CMP, and then all of a sudden this whole thing flips. So if you were paying attention, you're in good shape if you've got the Victini, unless for some reason that, huh? Okay, I'm confused now. Regardless, if your Malamar wins CMP against Victini in the 2 shield scenario, or maybe even the 1 shield, maybe it's just the 2 shield. Anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time screwing around with this, but essentially in the 2 shield scenario, Malamar wins against Victini because it debuffs itself enough for that Foul Play to actually KO. Otherwise, the Foul Play does 70% here, and then maybe it does enough, but it won't let me see. Anyway, not going to take too much time on this, but just essentially, yeah, if you got a Research IV Malamar, you're good. Victini himself, though, Victini is number 1 on the list because it can beat the Gardevoir, it can beat the Fairies, it beats Bronzong, it beats Malamar, if Malamar doesn't have Research IVs. Now, a lot of people probably already have like a high stat product one built, and probably most of the people that play this game don't necessarily watch or keep track of all these things before building stuff. So maybe they have the Malamar regular stat product. Your Victini's ready to rock and roll. If you have one built, good to go. Victini is super solid anyway, especially with the new move update. And you'll be seeing a video on that pretty shortly if I haven't put it out already, with Victini focusing on destroying Venusaurs and all of its friends. So what we've got here is Latios and Latias. Those 2 Pokemon, like, they definitely need, like, the Dragon Breath is the only reason that they're probably ranked this high. And again, they get annihilated by the Fairies, of course. And most of the element types, like, you know, things that use counter. So like if you've got them, they're a good spice, but I wouldn't really put too much stock into building one just for this cup, because they still get huge losses to Gardevoir, Malamar, Bronzong, Victini, Cresselia, essentially the entire meta. So we are just gonna, I'm just gonna skip them, right? Alolan Raichu is interesting here, not terribly ranked, number 10. Somehow it beats Victini, probably because it hits him with the Wild Charge. So all these are probably going to be Wild Charge based wins with a Thunder Punch bait, which is, again, that's typically just how it goes. But it loses to the heavy fast movers with Claydol and Gardevoir. Wobbuffet even beats it, just barely. And Malamar also beats it, because Malamar is just, it's dark type damage all over the place. So Lugia, excuse me, that was unexpected. Lugia is down here at 23. Very bulky. Dragon Tail is going to cause it to lose against pretty much all of the fairy types. However, it can have wins against, you know, I guess Celebi's not really much of a win, but Victini, it beats Victini, so that's important, right? That's all we need to know. If you don't run Lugia, it's probably not worth it. You could even run like a Shadow Lugia, but I don't even think that's so far down here, I think, that it's probably not, unless it's up here. Oh, Shadow Lugia is up here. Okay, never mind. We're good. So if you see a lot of Claydol, run your Shadow Lugia. If you see a lot of counter users, run your Shadow Lugia. Hypno. Malamar even loses a Shadow Lugia, as it looks like. If you hit him with the Aeroblast, I wonder how this works out. Lugia is just so bulky that it's actually good. So like, it's not, you're not doing yourself any bad, you know, nothing bad here by running it. So this is just straight Sky Attack. There's no Aeroblast involved here. So it's a super solid pick here if you've got one. But again, I'm not going to invest 100k plus Stardust into a Lugia for Great League right now. I don't feel like I need to. And Celebi is just here to fill some space. Celebi's honestly pretty awful, but it's got Magical Leaf, which is kind of okay. But it's a solid, just straight grass moveset, because it doesn't really have anything. So, I mean, you could like run it with Hyper Beam if you wanted to try and do neutral damage to things. And then you still get walled by Bronzong. You still get walled by mostly Victini. So just keep in mind that if you're going to build your Celebi out. And then this last page here, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I have another page, and we're going to find out together after this. But I've got a mishmash of things here. Now, when I made this video, I didn't expect Rapidash to be so high. Rapidash is going to be amazing in this cup, I think. And because it has the ability to one-shot literally almost the entire cup with Mega Horn, if you really wanted something to beat up a Malamar with, this is the thing to do it. And those body slams come out very quickly. He's got Fairy Wind in the new update. Had Cycle Cut even before, so it generates energy very quickly. Jirachi is going to be kind of similar to Bronzong, but it doesn't have the fast move. It has Confusion, which is really bad. Galarian Articuno I threw in here because if you happen to have one, it's interesting. The Brave Bird Ancient Power combination along with Psycho Cut means for some very interesting play, but again, it's not something that I'm expecting to do, you know, an amazingly good job. It still gets clowned on by a lot of the things up on top here, so I'm not even putting a whole lot into it. It's down here quite a ways, actually. Oh wait, this is further down to number 45, because it can beat Victini. It can beat Celebi, which isn't really a big deal. And it can beat Medicham. But other than that, you're not seeing a whole lot of wins for this thing, unfortunately. And the fact that it can't beat Bronzong is kind of like, if it can't beat Bronzong, you're probably not going to run it, because you need to be able to beat Bronzong. At least 2/3 of your team should. Mewtwo I put in here because this thing, if it resists the fast move damage, it could have a chance to get going. And the fact that it has, you know, the fact that it has access to Shadow Ball, if you didn't, you know, maybe get your Shadow Mewtwo and it has Shadow Ball but not Psy Strike for some strange, ridiculous reason, or just go straight Shadow Ball against these things. Like even a Shadow Psy Strike will probably clap the cheeks off of half the things in this cup. So worth throwing out there, right? Alakazam has Shadow Ball. That's the only reason it's in here. It could nuke something. Metagross double resists all psychic damage. You have Bullet Punch to do neutral to a lot of things, and the fairies get destroyed by it. So if you've got yourself a Great League level Metagross, go for it. Slowbro's in here for the fact that it has Water Gun, has a way to play neutral against things and beat the pants off of Victini, and You could also run Slow King, which Galarian Slow King has that Hex Shadow Ball combo. Good against the meta filled with Psychic types. Let's see if there's anything on this next page or if it's a bunch of weird stuff. That is not it. So that's going to be it, everybody. I'm not going to go over a whole lot of cores here because, again, it's a monotype cup. You're not going to be looking to core a bunch of stuff. This is literally just who's going to play out the best energy and shield management and who's going to do what. So it's just look forward to some content because there are going to be some interesting battles here. But again, this is probably going to be like Fighting Cup where it's going to be fun for a few days and then teeter off and be completely distracted. Mommy's playing with the baby. So that's going to be it for you guys. Again, check out the Patreon link in the description for early heads up on these teams that I'm coming up with for this cup. I've already got a few ready to rip and tear for the Psychic Cup, and then also just for future cups too. I'm very heads up on these new metas. I love to core break them and have a lot of fun with them. So also in the description is a Metafy link. If you want to check me out on Metafy, I do offer coaching to get better at Go Battle League and PvP in general. Hit me up if you want to go ahead and give that a shot. I appreciate y'all and thank you so much, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.